Hello, welcome. Thank you for joining me today. I felt really guided to come on here and talk about accessing our dormant codes and the aspects and parts of ourselves that have been out of reach, that we've been unaware of. Because we're at this place right now. I want to share this dream that I had the other night because it was so significant. I've been having a lot of dreams. I shared a lot of them a couple videos ago where it was just kind of dreams linking up with dreams from, a year ago and just this being a culminating time. So the other night I was, most of the night, it was one of those it wasn't like a picture dream necessarily. It was like an experience dream. I don't know if that makes sense, but I was just experiencing a certain energy. So for most of the night, it seemed like it went all night long. I don't know if it did, but I was on, it's hard to describe, but let's just say I was like on one side, like I was here, okay? And then there was this other piece of consciousness, probably, let's say, over here, and I could feel it and I could sense it and I could sort of, I could perceive it, but I wasn't in it. I could like tune into it. Let's say I could tune into it. Okay, so that was going on like the whole night. And it was always right there, and it was always this sort of like I'm over here and I'm perceiving over here. And then at the very end of the night, right before I woke up, I was in the this. I was in this over here, and I was so like, oh my God, like I'm on that other side. Like I'm in that thing that like I didn't have access to before. And now I'm in it. And I woke up and I had all this anxiety because it was like right before I was waking up, it was almost like, well, what do I do now? Like I can't really, like I knew I couldn't. It reminds me of that quote, like, once you expand into a new level of consciousness, you can't go back, So it was like that. I knew I couldn't go back, but I didn't really know what to do in this energy. It was so different, And so we're always up leveling and we're always reaching into new territories. And, it's like I talk about that a lot in the readings too, where you're kind of like, oh God, where am I now? Like the analogy of like going to a foreign country where you're like, okay, I have to figure out where the this is and the this is. And, we do that. But this one feels like really significant. Like we're accessing, and I know it's a collective energy, depending on your level of sensitivity, like how aware of it you are. But I know that humanity has done this jump, and that was what was coming up in the other readings and in my other dreams as well, where we have access to things that we didn't have access to before. But it was so huge. I woke up, I had anxiety, and when I first started having my light body be activated, I had a lot of anxiety. I was just constantly anxious because I didn't understand the energy. I didn't understand what it was doing in my body, and it just scared me. So I had a moment of that, and I just kind of like, I told myself I was safe. I had to remind myself, because I was also asleep, and far away. I had to remind myself of my name and what year it was, and just like ground myself and all that. But it was really, really big. Okay. And so, yeah, just this feeling of access that wasn't possible before. And the reason why I want to talk about this is because for so long we've been capped. We've been capped within the confines of what was not only what was possible because of the vibration and frequency of this planet. Like we're in a new section of the photon belt, so we're receiving information, we're receiving galactic information, cosmic information that we weren't receiving before. When we all these solar flares and the comets and like everything that's coming at us is new information. So it's like we're in a different place than we were before. And so before, it's like maybe we could access beyond through, we had to work really hard at it. We had to be like really, really disciplined with our meditation practices, or we had to use plant medicines to get us there, or trauma. Like that's how I kind of cracked open through trauma or psychotic breaks or whatever, it wasn't just like in the ethers, just like literally in the atmosphere where we're just being downloaded and activated no matter who we are. It's like psychics and, and people that just came in connected, fine, but just everybody is having access to this now, because it is a time when humanity is awakening. Okay, so we have the ability to access things we couldn't access before. Okay, so again, the reason why I'm bringing this up is because a lot of people are kind of like at this point in their lives where the old lives and the old energy and the old things they were doing, it's just not resonating anymore. It's not working anymore. It's starting to fall apart. It's not satisfying anymore. It's just like hitting your head against a brick wall. And yet, in some instances it's all we know, it's all we know. So it's like, how do we break outside of that? And what's becoming more and more clear to me is like, we break outside of it by accessing more of ourselves and integrating more of ourselves into our bodies, because then our energetic signature in our auric field changes. What we're transmitting changes. So we start magnetizing in different things, different opportunities, different people, different situations, different, like information, different codes. We start, and it happens automatically. It's like, as we change and access and go within. And but I want to that's why I want to talk about this. I want to explain what I mean by this, by accessing our codes, and how do we do it, because I want to point out how natural it is, how easy it is, and how we can consciously choose to cultivate and to bring our awareness to that. Okay, because then it becomes easier. It becomes easier, and it happens more frequently, and it happens more effortlessly, and then therefore our outer hologram changes as well more effortlessly. We don't have to, like, I'm going to move this piece around over here, I'm going to move this piece around over here. We just kind of play in the infinite realms that we exist in, and then things automatically start to match us. But we've been so trained and indoctrinated to do things in the outer way, and to again because we had to, because that was what the frequency of the planet was. It was very, very dense, and so we had to get out there and move things around, and we had to hustle, and we had to worry about our survival, and we had to do all these things. So when we're trying to jump out of the denser energy into the higher energy and into the higher ways of living that's available for us, we can, just sort of accidentally, unconsciously apply the old rules to the new game, and it's just, so I just want to talk about, the rules of the new game, so that we can, bring this around and change our lives and change our world faster from the inside out. And so activating our dormant codes. So what I mean by that, and I just kind of make up words. I just string words together in a way that makes sense to me, and just based off of my experience and the way I perceive it and understand it and stuff like that. And so we all have we all have a piece of the puzzle, and when we put them together, it can just kind of illuminate. It can just kind of illuminate. So I just feel inspired to share my windy world, in case it's helpful, in case the language that I use and the codes that come through when I use it, the transmissions, are helpful and activating for you. And so, yeah, that's just what I feel urged to do. So, okay. So, but my point is, translate as you want, interpret it in your own language and in your own, whoever you are world, and just take what resonates, and and just like anything else, just piece together your patchwork, how it serves you. And so, but basically, so I don't have an agenda of how I want to talk about this. I never do. I just kind of like jump in and trust that the words are going to come out. So I'm just trying to line myself up with that flow, and by rambling on a little bit beforehand before I do that. And sometimes the cards are nice because I can kind of like use them as springboards, but I didn't feel to bring them today. So anyway, I think the first thing I want to talk about is how we can have our codes activated by other people, okay? And especially as we start to find our soul tribe, and we start to find, because this happened to me, let's see, last year around this time, I started having all of these Facebook friend requests, like 150, 200, I don't know, maybe, I don't know what the algorithm is. If you start accepting friend requests, then they're like, oh, you want friends? Okay, and they give you more and more. But all the people were like consciousness people. They were like these, cutting edge, bridging into the new type of people. And I didn't really know many people like that. I had a couple in town here that I could commune with, and maybe some other people around, but not many. So all of a sudden they were just like, oh, these people, and I had to weed through a little bit, but I made some really beautiful connections, and people that I talk with, like every week, and just from all around the world, and and even just seeing people online. But the point is, I became very, very aware at this time that we were swapping files. Okay, we were swapping files because we were soul family, and we had different codes activated. Like my one friend, like we have this strong Agarthian connection. We're both really connected to the Fae and to the elementals and stuff like that. But he was a little further integrated into that than I was. Like it was something that I was feeling, like I was just feeling it swirling around. I was feeling those aspects swirling around, just wanting my attention, just kind of wanting to be incorporated, wanting to be integrated. And then right at that moment, I met this man and we became really good friends. And so it's like my field, my energetic, my me kind of tuning into to what was interesting to me, because I was always like that when I was a little girl. I was always like just felt like I was connected, and I was, I'm sure, connecting to elementals and to little invisible things, and and I would just get lost in play and have this thing going on, and I always thought it was make believe, and all that, but anyway, so it was a code of mine. That's my point. It was a code that I had in me, something that was familiar. And this is how we can know what our dormant codes are. It's things that we're drawn to, things that we like. So we can look at the art that we're interested in, or the music that we're interested in, or even movies or shows or people, or a certain visage that attracts us. Does it look galactic? Does it look Agarthian, like elemental? Does it look like a fairy? Do we look like a fairy? Like what is it? What can we read in our interests and in our visage and in, the way we talk? Do we talk really slowly? Are we really kind of refined? Do we have sort of like a, whatever it is, there's all kinds of codes in our energy field, like telling us what we are and who we are, but especially following our interests, okay? And not only following our interests in terms of, like I like to dress in a way that connects me with energy, that makes me feel a certain way. So for me, it is that kind of like fairy, elven, priestessy, all the things, all of the codes is what I'm calling them. But really, it's like experiences that we've had, through different lifetimes or different dimensions, or however we want to think of it, but things that are in our Akash, things that we're coded with. It's in our DNA that might not be active, but there's a part of us that recognizes it, and the importance of leaning into that and playing with that, because when we play with it, even if we think we're just playing, we dress in a certain way, or we watch those shows, or we decorate our house with art of a certain thing, like pagan or Celtic or Scottish or Lemurian, or dolphins, but dolphins everywhere, whatever it is. When we have those things around us, they activate us. They activate us because they match the codes that we have inside of us, that we're starting to remember, that we want to activate. And I'm getting chills. And so nature, did we live in nature? Were we elemental beings, spend a lot of time in nature? You get the point, right? Whatever it is. But also with people, when you feel drawn to people, and you might not know why, it's like your subconscious or your higher self or your soul is guiding you to those people because they have codes for you. They have codes activated that you're trying to activate. So my friend from Australia, it's like I don't know, sometimes he watches these. Hello, if you are. But yeah, when I first met him, I had a dream of him, and I knew it was him. I knew it was him in the dream because it had the same energetic signature of him. I'll tell you why I'm pointing this, but we were in like some old like carriage, and he had this purple shirt on, and he invited me in, and he was going to gift me something. Well, you know what it was my codes. And so he gifted me this small emerald, raw chunk of emerald, and that's why I bought this, and I wear it. This represents my elemental, my fae, my Agarthian codes that I got from him, that he helped me to activate. So I knew he came into my life for that reason. And after we started connecting, and we just immediately, became like best friends. We just like knew each other forever. And, just, he's in Australia, I'm in New Mexico, we just talk all not all the time, but, when we can, leave each other messages and share and, whatever. But what we're doing is we're swapping files. And I don't know what I've activated in him, but I trust it's something. But for me, it was very clear, because he was very aware he was just aware and conscious and accepting of his experiences, some of his otherworldly experiences that I didn't quite give enough attention to. Like, they were there, but maybe I would kind of doubt them, or maybe I was like, oh, I don't know, maybe it's just this or that. And so I would listen to him speak, and I would listen to how integrated he was with these codes, with these aspects of himself, and it liberated me and it activated me. Okay, and so I carried that forward, and it changed my whole life. And I just started having different experiences when I was out in nature. Maybe not different, but ones that I was now honoring and I was leaning into more, and I was like, listening to the information that was coming through for me. So it's like I got that from him. Okay, so I'm giving these examples just because examples are always helpful. And so there's this other person that I met, and so I don't really know him well, but I feel a really strong connection. And we've had very limited communication, but is when we first started communicating, for some reason, I think because we probably knew each other from before, or maybe our higher selves put us together for this reason. And again, I don't know what he got or gets from me, but what I noticed right away about him was that he had this, it wasn't like a noticing, observing, because again, I don't even really know him. It was like I got this like download from him, like that about focus. Like he seems, the energy says that he's really good at focusing. Okay, so I saw that about him, and I even told him that, I told him that, and kind of like I think he asked me to read his energy or something, and I did. But the focus. So after that conversation, what happened for me is I all of a sudden had better focus. It's like I got the focus download, and all of a sudden I knew I knew how to focus. It's like I was better in the world. Like that's actually how I started this channel, because all of a sudden, instead of being like, nah, I don't know how to do that, it was just like, it was just so easy for me. It was so easy for me to do it. But so it was like my masculine, like my inner masculine energy got kind of like clicked on, because it was so activated in him, and just being in that energy field. And he's across the world too. So it's like just kind of being in his energy just through communication. I got that from him. And so, but being aware of these things, but then I applied it to other things, like in energy sessions. It's like I can, I read energy, I feel energies, but it was like, it was a combination of the two of them, actually, because the one I leaned into it more and trusted that like other subtle realm more, but then I had the focus to like really like peer into it and get more information, right? So, but knowing that we meet people at specific times, one, because we're ready. It's like there's something in our energy field that's ready. We're starting to like click on in these ways, and we're ready for that activation, and then we like kind of pull in the person that can activate it for us. And I'm trusting that it's mutual. There's something that goes on both ways. So it's like the swapping files, So and then there are other examples, like tons of other examples. Like one of my friends, she's really, really, really good at self-care and boundaries, and I've always been really horrible at that. And so we've been friends the last 10 years, and I'm like so good at that stuff right now. I'm so good at it because I osmose that from her. And, of course, we learn just from being around people and learning from, their example, and, they sort of enable us because they're so good at it that we're like, hey, if you can do that, like I would sort of judge myself for being a bitch if I set a boundary, but look at you, you're so good at that. And, who cares what people think you're, whatever it is, right? That we kind of get enabled and through example. But what's really interesting to me is when somebody's like really, really far away, or you don't even really know them, but you still get the downloads and you still get the codes and stuff like this, okay? I have another friend that has abundance codes, and he was a millionaire, and then he lost everything, and but he doesn't care. Like he's just in this flow with money. It comes and it goes, and he just flows. And he came into my life right around the time when I was having to learn abundance codes. I was needing that. I was starting to flesh that out. I was like reading books about like like being in the flow of money, and I really needed to, because I lost everything. I like had to get out of the situation I was in, and I lost everything, and I was like barely making it, and so I was like really guided to kind of like work my mind around money and abundance and energy. And then he came into my life, and it's like I know that I got the codes from him. I got activated from him because I was ready, right? So combination of the importance of paying attention to what you're drawn to, and then acting on it, even if it's just a small step, because when you step towards something like with those books, you start to change your energetic signature, because what we focus on, we draw to us, right? So that's another way of saying it, right? It's really obvious, but what we're putting our attention on literally starts to hang in our fields, and then what hangs in our fields is the magnetic force that pulls things that are like it in, okay? And so this being conscious of that so that we don't ever ignore ourselves. It's the things, if we want to change our lives, rather than like doing it in the linear way, and like it's fine to have goals and stuff like that. It's fine, especially if they come from guidance, but a lot of times the goals are just our minds trying to like force things to happen. It's better if we follow and take it if it resonates. But it's like, it's better if we just follow our passion and follow our interest, even if it's like completely unrelated to the changes that we think we want to make in our lives. It's like we like my daughter, for example, she started drawing recently, and she doesn't try anything. She just like does what feels right, and she moves. And like, there are always these like animals. It's like she has a certain style, and they look, and again, she doesn't flesh anything out, she lets it be really raw. But there are these animals, and they always have this certain look to them, like these like shamanic, like Native American looking animals, and there are all these like codes in them. Like, we look at them and we feel activated, and that's the other thing, when you look at certain things and you get like whether you're like listening to somebody talk, or you're watching a movie, or you're looking at art, or like, even, I don't know if I can show this, these Andara crystals. Yeah, I don't think it's going to show, but they are heliocentric, and when the light hits them the right way, they kind of light up. It's not showing, but like, for me, it looks amazing. There are like all these like lights within lights within lights, and these like layers and dimensions. And when I look at them, I feel things move in my body, because it's like they're activating me. There are codes in certain physical things, especially things that play with light and where elements combine and stuff like that. So, but paying attention to your body, and when you feel that, and I know that this is obvious, like, I know that we all kind of do this anyway, and we have a relationship to this, but I just want to put attention on it, because there's so much attention to the boxes that we've been in our whole lives, to the conditioning, to the indoctrination. And we have such strong neural pathways of just like going about the day, and like getting the things done. And then, if we are having an issue, we tend to, go into that default mode of using our minds and stuff like that. But so when we put our attention to training ourselves to notice what excites us and activates us and has that magnetic pull, and then going towards that, okay? And that's what I wanted to say. Like, even if it feels like it's in the opposite direction of the changes that we want to make in our lives, it's like, it's gonna activate our codes. You're drawn to it because there's that thing or that person or whatever has things activated that you don't yet, that are starting to activate, that you want activated. I hope I'm making sense. And so when you get around them, you get in that energy field, and you exchange with them, and you engage with them, and you give it your attention, you start to gain access to things that were dormant within you. Okay, and when you gain access to things that were dormant within you, you have more of yourself. You'll have more of yourself, and those aspects start to integrate into your body, into your personality, so that you react differently to the world. You start interacting differently. Not only do you start magnetizing in different things, different opportunities that change the course of your life, which then lead to the changes that you're making, right? Trusting your spirit to guide you. You don't have to be in control with your mind. Even if it looks messy and strange and you don't understand it, just go where you need to go. And also activating by different places on the earth, and it can be in your town. Like, maybe you drive home a different way, and you're like, oh my God, look at that tree over there in that alley, like, and you go and not that trees are in alleys, but you know what I mean, something like that, right? And you go and you sit with that tree, and you just feel different. You don't know why, you just feel different, and you come home and you're inspired. It changes you, it changes you. Or you get called to go, maybe one of your family members is sick, and you have to go on this trip, and you have to go to a different state or a different country or whatever, and to be with them, and it might interrupt your life, and it might kind of seem like like, oh no, and this person's sick, and all these bad things, but you go there, and it's like, it's exactly where you need to be, because the energy there is like, when I got called to come out to the desert 20 years ago. I grew up on the East Coast, in the USA, and now I'm in New Mexico, and it's like, there are survival codes out here in the desert, and it's like that. When I came out here, that was the precursor to going through like a really, really hard, dark, crazy ass trial where I needed those survival codes, and they were all around me, and where Hawaii has abundance codes, and it's like, just depending on where we go, but where we're drawn to go means something. Everything means something. Nothing is random. So traveling, visiting, and again, even if it's something that comes out of the blue, like or a business trip, you have to go somewhere, and you're like, oh, I want to drive, I want to go somewhere, but like, pay attention, because there's information, and there's codes, and there's activations for us, or whatever it is, or coming across different people, even like going to a different state. There's a different energy, there's a different any place, not just state, but different culture. But even within the same country, it's like, you go to a different town, like you think about like San Francisco versus like Albuquerque versus Baltimore. It's like there's a different vibe, there's a different dress. You're around these people. You might be horribly uncomfortable the whole time or something like that, but you're still getting information that you need, and it's activating you. Everything is activating you, okay? And so, but the main point that I want to make is following those soul urges. Even if the soul urges, like I had to go move, like during the pandemic, I had to go move down to, well, the desert house where I'm at on the weekends now, because my ex was super controlling and wouldn't let the kids come back and forth, and it was like I either didn't see them or I took them to court, and I didn't want to go live with him, but not with him, but in that same area. But I knew in my soul that I needed to do that, and we did end up having like all this karmic closure, and it was just exactly what needed to happen. And I totally bonded with the desert, and I learned things, and just found these like earth portals and portals into myself that like I just, it changed my life forever. And so I knew I needed to go, and I was like kind of like astrally connecting with the land before I went. And so as much as my ego and my pride wanted to be like, who the fuck are you to like, try to control like everything and force me to live my life, blah, blah, blah. I knew I needed to do it, and I did. And I got so activated down there among all the other amazing things that happened, despite the sort of like weird things that happen too. Okay, so like following those soul urges, despite the ego or the pride or the past or what it would mean in the past if you did a certain thing, just following because there's a reason, and it's really all about activating. It's all about activating the dormant parts of ourselves. And so coming back to my dream, I have a session soon, so I'm probably going to need to wrap this up. I think I'll probably get it all out, and if not, I can just come on again and talk about it again, but or deeper or whatever. But yeah. So what was I saying? Oh gosh. Yeah. Okay. So yes, accessing more of ourselves. It's all about accessing more of ourselves and bringing more of ourselves, more of the fullness of who we are into our bodies, into our embodied state, and then living from that fullness. Transmitting that and anchoring that by living from that fullness and the choices that we make and the lives that we live. And it does, and again, the changes in our lives, because this is where people can get stuck, where you feel stuck in your life and you feel like you can't get out of it because you're on that hamster wheel of what you've always done. So instead of like beating yourself up for that, or trying to get out of that hamster wheel by playing the same rules that are inside of the hamster wheel, just focus on on activating these codes, okay? And like everything that we talked about, how to do that by following your passion and making time for that soul life, because it is the priority, and it is how we change our lives, and it is how we change our world, by accessing our codes, bringing in more of and living more of who we are, the fullness of who we are, the fullness of our souls, the fullness of our multidimensional selves, our galactic selves, our Agarthian selves, those are the ones that are strongest to me. So those are the examples I always give. Our priestess selves, our king and queens, our whatever it is that you are drawn to and resonate. That's you're drawn to it and you resonate with it because it's part of who you are. Not just who you were, but who you are. And so to play in those realms, to play in the things that excite you, knowing that that's the best thing you can possibly do for yourself in the world, because it brings more of you. And when we bring more of our spirit here, and more of our multidimensionality, and more of the I want to say, how do I want to say this? Like, I can't find the words. Oh my gosh, like beyond human, right? Beyond human, the parts of us that are beyond human, we bring more of that there, and we can change this earth into the full expression. Like let's bring more flowers here. You know what I mean? More energetic signatures than what has been allowed. Definitely what has been allowed, because for so long, this type of expanded consciousness and the frequencies that hold that consciousness, they weren't allowed here because the people in control, the forces in control, wanted to be in control. And so, that was kept out, but things are changing. And that's like that dream that I had where it's like, we're on the other side now, where we weren't allowed before. And now we're over there, and it's like, what do we do? What do we do now that we're over here? We activate our codes and we bring it all in and we live it, because it's possible now. It's possible, and it's possible because of us, because we we did look, we did what, even though we were here, we still held onto that. We still felt it. I know this is here. I know this is here. I'm going to keep my eye on this. I'm going to keep my eye on this. And now it's possible to be in it and to live it. But we do kind of have to make, I feel that I think it is going to happen naturally where we start, we start to like just sort of merge with our higher selves and start to live that. But it's like, we're trying to like, we're trying to get out of old energy, and we're trying to get the world out of old energy. Like, that's the whole point. So it's like, if we can be conscious of this process and conscious of the potentials and the possibilities right now, then we can just do it faster, and we can do it together. Because again, I know I always say this, but the more of us that join in consciousness and put our focus on something, the more powerful it is, and the more we can create the changes that we want to create. And I'm getting chills, not just by default and not just by osmosing it, through the ethers, but by, claiming our co-creative power and our ability to choose and to claim our power and to live our power. And I think, again, what can get confusing is that we can think that we have to do that through the old energy, through those old sort of like mental neural pathways, and to really like use that focus and yeah, use that focus I lost my train of thought. Oh my gosh. Use that focus, harness that focus, and put it on what we know is going to help us move forward. And what is going to help us move forward is, doing the things that are going to bring in more of us into our bodies and into our lives and into how we're living, and to change our lives from the inside out. So, okay, I need to go, but thank you so much for listening. And, and for entertaining the thoughts that I'm having, and I'm sure that they match up with some of your own and some of the things that you're doing. And gosh, I wish everybody else would. I would love to hear, like, everybody. I know we're all doing what we're doing, but I love to hear like everybody's version of reality and all the pieces that we all put together. And support each other in moving forward, swapping files and activating each other's codes. So may I have activated some for you, and thank you for joining with me, because I feel you. And that's the other thing. Whenever I do a personal reading for somebody, I'm merging, it's like I'm merging with your energy, and we're swapping files too. And it's just like it's so amazing. So thank you, everyone who's here and who listens to these and who's getting the private readings, and for just joining energy with me and sharing yours as well. Okay, thank you. Much love. Bye.